3 days. Still no word from Meher. Aarav had called every number she'd given. Even the old one she said she never used. Her social media had gone silent. He'd driven past her apartment twice, parked outside for hours, but her window stayed dark. The concierge said she'd checked out unexpectedly and left no forwarding address. Panic had started to chip away at anger. Then came the knock on Aarav's door. It was Sanaya, Meher's cousin. She looked hesitant, holding a sealed envelope and wearing the expression of someone carrying someone else's secret. She asked me not to tell you, Sanaya said quietly. But you deserve the truth. Aarav's hands trembled as he clutched the clinic card. Cancer. It didn't seem real. She had been so full of life, even in her quietest moments. But now the fear that he might lose her, not just emotionally, but entirely, was suffocating. He didn't sleep. He didn't eat. He just searched. Studio connections. Old addresses. Friends of friends. Every thread that led to Meher, he pulled. Until it led him to a private retreat hospital 2 hours outside Mumbai. A place where patients went when they didn't want to be found. Aarav didn't wait. He wrapped Meher in her shawl and carried her out through the back exit of the clinic, just as shadows moved down the hallway behind them. The nurse whispered, "Go through the staff passage. It's the only way out unnoticed." They drove through the pre-dawn silence, the road winding through dark hills. Meher lay in the passenger seat, weak but conscious, her hand resting in his. Weeks passed. Meher recovered slowly, her strength returning one note at a time. Aarav never left her side, not even when the legal battles began. With Sanaya's help and the nurse's testimony, they exposed the producer who tried to steal Meher's work. The man had ties to a shady label that thrived off exploiting vulnerable artists. He was arrested, and with it Meher's name and her voice were cleared. The studio they once shared reopened under a new name, Rag and Rise. This time they weren't just creating music. They were building a space for artists like Meher, those who had been silenced, ignored, or betrayed. Meher's debut single, The Sound of Goodbye, was released with her full story. It wasn't just a song. It was a revolution wrapped in melody. It went viral within days not because it was polished but because it was real, raw, honest. And Aarav? He found healing not just in Meher's voice, but in her presence. The pain of Ria's memory didn't fade, but it softened. Because love doesn't erase the past. It gives you the courage to live beyond it. One evening, Meher stood on stage during her first live performance. The lights dimmed. Aarav stood beside the soundboard, tears in his eyes as her voice soared across the hall. She looked at him once before singing, and in that glance everything was said. We made it. Together. Sparkle's moral takeaway: healing takes time. Love takes courage. And sometimes, the stars that forget to shine just need someone to believe in their light again. Speech balloon viewer engagement. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? Tell us in the comments below. White heavy checkmark final checks and optimization. White heavy checkmark story is complete. All character arcs, mysteries, and emotional conflicts resolved. White heavy checkmark content review. Emotionally mature themes, no explicit content. Fully within YouTube's community and advertiser-friendly guidelines. White heavy checkmark SEO keywords used naturally. Romantic story, South Asian drama, emotional love story. Healing through love, music and love, Hindi storytime. White heavy checkmark formatting. Clean and easy to read with logical structure. Scroll YouTube description and metadata description. Sparkles When Stars Forgot to Shine is a heart-touching romantic story of love, loss, healing, and hope, centered around two South Asian artists whose souls meet through music. Meher and Aarav's emotional journey takes them from heartbreak to wholeness as they fight for their voices and each other. This story blends mystery, music, and deep emotion into a powerful narrative you won't forget. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more beautiful love stories. Backhand index pointing down, comment your thoughts, and let us know what kind of stories you'd love next. Tags/hashtags. Hashtag romantic story, hashtag love and music, hashtag South Asian drama, hashtag Hindi storytime, hashtag YouTube love story, hashtag heartfelt drama, hashtag emotional story, hashtag Meher and Aarav, hashtag When Stars Forgot to Shine. Disclaimer. This story contains emotionally mature themes, but is suitable for general audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. They tried to force me to sign rights away, she whispered. The music, our music. They knew it would be worth something if I disappeared. Aarav's jaw clenched. A former producer she once trusted, someone from her past, had tried to erase her not just from the industry, but from her own legacy. But she had refused. She'd rather vanish than be owned. As the sun rose, they stopped by the edge of a cliff overlooking the valley, a place Meher had always said she wanted to visit. Wind tangled her hair as Aarav helped her out of the car, wrapping his arms around her from behind. I thought I had to disappear to protect what we made, she said softly. But I was wrong. Music doesn't need silence. It needs someone brave enough to fight for the sound. Aarav turned her gently. Then let's fight. Together. I don't care what happens next, as long as I don't lose you again. They kissed, slow, aching, real. A promise wrapped in a moment. But just as they embraced, Aarav's phone buzzed. A new message. You think it's over. But it's not. She knows too much. He pulled her closer. If there was still a war coming, they'd face it together. He drove through the night, headlights cutting through thick fog. At the gate he begged the guard. Just tell her I'm here. Please. Just tell her. Aarav came. A long silence followed. Then a nurse appeared. She's been asking for you. But she didn't want to call. Said you'd never look at her the same way again. He was led down a narrow hallway. And then there she was. Meher sat by the window, wrapped in a shawl. Pale, thinner than before. But still her. Still heartbreakingly beautiful. Her eyes met his, and her lips trembled. I didn't want you to see me like this, she whispered. I wanted to leave you with the music, not the silence. Aarav fell to his knees in front of her, voice raw. Don't you get it? You are the music. Tears streamed down her face. But before they could speak again, a loud crash came from outside the room. The nurse rushed in. You need to leave now. Someone's looking for her. We don't know who. Aarav turned, jaw clenched. Whoever had tried to erase her was here. He wasn't letting her go again. Inside the envelope was a clinic card from Mumbai, dated 2 weeks ago. Cancer Institute. Follow-up appointment. She didn't want pity, Sanaya whispered. Didn't want anyone watching her fade. Aarav's chest tightened. The humming. The sound of goodbye. Was it more literal than he'd realized? But that wasn't the only twist. As he tried to process it all, he received an email from an unknown sender. The subject line simply read, Don't look for her. It's not safe. Was someone threatening her? Or protecting her? Suddenly, this wasn't just heartbreak, it was a mystery. The music project they'd started was now being passed around studios without his permission. Someone was trying to sell it piece by piece. Someone who knew its value and its origin. Meher was gone. But her voice was being stolen and maybe her freedom too. Aarav didn't know where she was. But he knew one thing for certain now. He had to find her. Before it was too late. There are moments in life when everything looks perfect. Until it isn't. When the world keeps spinning but something inside you just stops. Aarav was the kind of man who never let the world see him bleed. A talented music producer with a guarded heart, he had built a life around rhythms and silence. Until Meher stepped into his studio like a forgotten melody. She wasn't just another client. She was a voice he didn't know he'd been waiting to hear. A rising classical singer, her softness was not weakness. It was storm disguised as calm. They met under flickering fluorescent lights, with unfinished lyrics between them and rain tapping against the windows. At first it was all professional notes, chords, late nights. But beneath the harmonies, a tension quietly bloomed. Something unspoken lingered in every stolen glance, every laugh that lingered too long. Meher carried her own shadows, a failed engagement, the guilt of choosing her dreams over family expectations. Aarav had long buried the pain of losing someone he loved in a car accident years ago. Neither of them was looking for love. Yet something fragile, tender, and unshakably real began to stir between them. Aarav hadn't slept. The morning sun filtered through the blinds, casting soft stripes across the untouched coffee beside him. His mind played loops of Meher's laughter. The way she tilted her head when confused, how her voice held centuries of longing in a single note. But now nothing. No explanation. Just absence. This wasn't like her. 3 weeks ago, Meher had told him something no one else knew. That she hadn't sung for over a year before meeting him. Music had once been her refuge, until her fiancé, an investment banker her parents approved of, told her dreams didn't pay bills. When she walked away from that life, she thought she was walking into freedom. But guilt followed like a shadow. Aarav had seen that weight behind her eyes. He never asked about it, but he listened, really listened, in a way no one ever had. He told her about Ria once. Not many people knew. His fiancée had died 5 years ago in a crash caused by a drunk driver. Since then, Aarav had kept everyone at arm's length. Until Meher. She didn't just break through his walls. She sang through them. Now, her sudden disappearance gnawed at him like a wound. He picked up his phone again, scrolling through their last messages. Her final voice note was just a humming sketch of a melody. A haunting tune she called The Sound of Goodbye. Aarav played it on loop, staring at the screen, wondering if she'd chosen to disappear. Or if something darker had pulled her away. Because when stars forget to shine, maybe they're not gone. Maybe they're just lost. But on the night they were supposed to record her debut single, Meher didn't show up. No message. No call. Just silence. Aarav waited in the studio till dawn, staring at the door as the first light bled into the room, wondering if he'd misread everything, or if fate was playing its cruel game aga.